Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Iggy, and I've been covering topics like stocks, finance, CPF, and everything related to growing your wealth. The Investing Iguana is ranked 8th in the 2024 Influential Tigers by Tiger Brokers, with over 768,000 reads and 53,000 likes. I've produced over 700 videos with more than 300,000 watch hours as of December 2024. I also focus on regional and world economy topics. Today, we're diving into something that's affecting businesses across Singapore right now, the new US tariffs. You might think tariffs are just another boring policy change that doesn't affect your daily life or investments. But what if I told you these tariffs could change the prices of products you buy every day and impact the stocks in your portfolio? While many experts suggest simply waiting out the trade tensions, I believe there are strategic moves both businesses and investors can make right now to not just survive, but potentially profit from these changes. I've spent the last month analyzing how these tariffs are reshaping trade flows and speaking with business leaders about their adaptation strategies. In today's video, I'll walk you through exactly how these US tariffs are impacting Singapore businesses, what strategies companies are using to adapt, and most importantly, what this means for you as a consumer and investor. We'll look at the immediate impacts, explore the broader economic implications, and discuss practical ways to position yourself advantageously in this changing landscape. Let's start by understanding what's happening with these new US tariffs and why nearly half of Singapore companies are planning to pass these costs directly to you. The trade landscape changed dramatically when the US implemented sweeping new tariffs last year. According to a recent survey by the American Chamber of Commerce in Singapore, these tariffs are already causing significant ripples through our economy. The survey, conducted jointly with Bauer Group Asia Singapore and PwC Singapore, revealed some eye-opening findings about how businesses are responding. Nearly half of companies in Singapore, 45% to be exact, plan to pass on the increased costs from these tariffs directly to customers. Think about what this means for a moment. When you go shopping next month, many products might cost more than they do today. This isn't just affecting luxury goods or specific industries. It's a broad impact that could touch everything from electronics to food products. But why are companies doing this? Well, tariffs essentially act as a tax on imported goods. When the US places a tariff on products from Singapore, it makes those products more expensive in the American market. Companies then face a tough choice: absorb those extra costs and watch their profits shrink, or pass them along to customers. Let me break this down with a simple example. Imagine a Singapore electronics manufacturer that sells components to the US. Before the tariffs, they might sell a component for $100. With the new 10% baseline tariff, that same component now effectively costs $100 in the US market. The manufacturer then has to decide, take a $10 hit on each component sold, or raise prices to maintain their margins. What's particularly concerning is that nearly 70% of the companies surveyed expect these tariffs to have a moderate to significant negative impact on their operations. This isn't just about higher prices. It could affect jobs, expansion plans, and overall economic growth in Singapore. Now, not all businesses are simply raising prices. Some are getting creative with their response strategies. Many companies are looking to diversify their supply chains to reduce their dependence on high tariff markets. This might mean finding new suppliers in countries not affected by the tariffs, or shifting manufacturing to different locations. Others see this disruption as an opportunity. They're positioning themselves to gain market share from competitors who are slower to adapt to the new trade reality. This reminds me of the old saying that in every crisis, there's opportunity. The businesses that can pivot quickly and find innovative solutions might actually come out stronger on the other side. More than 2/3 of the respondents in the AmCham survey highlighted a specific concern. They're worried about potential reciprocal tariffs. What does this mean? Well, when the US places tariffs on imports from other countries, those countries often respond with their own tariffs on US goods. This creates a cycle that can escalate into a full-blown trade war. The White House announcement on April 2nd, 2024, confirmed these fears. The US implemented sweeping reciprocal tariffs on its trading partners, with Asian economies bearing the heaviest burden. For Singapore specifically, all exports to the US now face at least a baseline 10% tariff. And that's actually the good news. Some countries deemed worst offenders by the White House face even higher rates. What's interesting is that about 20% of the companies surveyed believe these measures won't affect their business at all. But experts, like Frank Debetz, the Asia-Pacific Customs and Trade leader at PwC Singapore, disagree with this optimistic view. He points out that even if a company doesn't directly export to the US, they might still feel the impact through their supply chain or customer base. For example, a Singapore company might supply parts to another Asian manufacturer who then exports finished products to the US. When those exports get hit with tariffs, it can reduce demand all the way down the supply chain. Or a company might sell to customers in Singapore who are themselves struggling with tariff impacts, reducing their purchasing power. Debetz offers some wise advice. Any company that thinks they're immune from these tariff effects should do their homework to make sure that belief is well-founded. In today's interconnected global economy, trade disruptions have a way of spreading through unexpected channels. Now, to understand the full picture, we need to look at the broader impact of these tariffs on global trade dynamics. The US-led tariff increases aren't happening in isolation. They're part of a worldwide shift toward more protectionist trade policies that we've been seeing develop since around 2018. This shift represents a significant change from the decades-long trend toward free trade and globalization that dominated from the 1990s through the early 2010s. During that period, supply chains became increasingly global and complex. Companies could source materials and components from wherever they were cheapest, assemble products in low-cost manufacturing hubs, and sell them worldwide with minimal trade barriers. The new tariffs signal a partial unwinding of that system. Companies are now being forced to consider not just cost and quality when designing their supply chains, but also geopolitical risk and tariff exposure. This is leading to what economists call friendshoring, the practice of moving business operations to countries that are politically aligned with your home country. For Singapore, this presents both challenges and opportunities. As a small, open economy that has thrived on global trade, any move toward protectionism could be concerning. However, Singapore's strong diplomatic ties with both Western nations and Asian economies, including China, position it as a potential neutral ground for businesses looking to navigate these complicated waters. Now let's talk about specific strategies for businesses to mitigate tariff impacts. Beyond simply raising prices, companies have several options to consider. Supply chain diversification is perhaps the most obvious response. This doesn't necessarily mean abandoning existing suppliers, but rather developing alternatives to create flexibility. A company might maintain its primary supplier relationship while qualifying secondary sources in different countries as a hedge against tariff changes. Product redesign can also help. By modifying products to use different components or materials that aren't subject to high tariffs, companies can maintain cost competitiveness. This approach requires close collaboration between procurement, engineering, and marketing teams to ensure that the redesigned products still meet customer needs. Local content strategies offer another path. By increasing the percentage of components or value added in the destination market, companies can sometimes reduce their tariff exposure. This might involve partnering with local suppliers or establishing their own operations in key markets. Strategic pricing represents a more sophisticated approach than simply passing costs along. Companies can analyze their product portfolio to identify where they have pricing power and where they face more elastic demand. They might absorb tariff costs on highly competitive products while raising prices more aggressively on unique offerings where customers have fewer alternatives. For smaller businesses with limited resources, industry associations and government agencies can provide valuable support. Enterprise Singapore, for example, offers market intelligence, connection services, and even financial assistance to help companies navigate trade challenges. Industry groups often organize shared initiatives like joint market entry programs or collective bargaining with logistics providers. What does all this mean for you as a consumer and investor? As a consumer, you should expect some price increases on imported goods, particularly those with significant US or China content. This might be a good time to consider the origin of products you regularly purchase and explore alternatives if prices rise substantially. As an investor, the tariff situation creates opportunities to identify companies that are well positioned to navigate the changing trade landscape. Look for businesses with diversified market exposure, flexible supply chains, and strong pricing power. Companies that provide services related to trade compliance, supply chain redesign, or market entry support may see increased demand. Regional diversification in your investment portfolio also makes sense in this environment. While Singapore-listed companies will certainly feel the impact of U.S. tariffs, the effects will vary widely depending on their business models and geographic exposure. Adding investments in markets less affected by the current trade tensions could provide some balance. It's worth noting that market reactions to trade news often create short-term volatility that can present buying opportunities. When tariff announcements trigger broad market sell-offs, quality companies with limited actual exposure may become temporarily undervalued. One strategy I've been implementing in my own portfolio is looking for companies that are helping others adapt to the new trade reality. These include logistics firms with strong regional networks, consultancies specializing in supply chain optimization, and technology providers offering solutions for trade compliance and visibility. I'm also paying close attention to companies that are proactively communicating their tariff mitigation strategies to investors. Management teams that demonstrate a clear understanding of the challenges and a thoughtful approach to addressing them often outperform those that seem to be merely reacting to events as they unfold. The current tariff situation, while challenging, is ultimately manageable for most Singapore businesses. Those that approach it strategically, seeing it as an opportunity to strengthen their competitive position rather than merely a cost to be endured, may emerge stronger than before. To wrap things up, let's recap the key points we've covered today. The new U.S. tariffs are having a significant impact on Singapore businesses, with 45% planning to pass increased costs to customers, and nearly 70% expecting moderate to significant negative effects on their operations. Companies are responding not just by raising prices, but also by diversifying supply chains and seeking new market opportunities. The broader context includes a global shift toward more protectionist trade policies, creating both challenges and opportunities for Singapore's trade-dependent economy. Historical patterns suggest that while trade disputes can cause significant disruption, they rarely persist indefinitely without some form of resolution or adaptation. For businesses, successful navigation of the tariff landscape requires a combination of tactical moves like supply chain diversification and strategic initiatives like product redesign or market expansion. For consumers and investors, the situation calls for awareness of potential price impacts and thoughtful consideration of how different companies and sectors might be affected. The most important takeaway is that periods of economic disruption often separate the truly resilient businesses from those that merely thrive in stable conditions. By understanding the tariff situation and its implications, you can make more informed decisions about both your purchases and your investments. I hope you found this analysis helpful. If you have experiences with how tariffs are affecting your business or investments, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Your insights help make this community more valuable for everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more content on navigating today's complex economic landscape. Next week, I'll be looking at how Singapore's property market is responding to these trade tensions, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.